realize how important it is to minimize and simplify this thing. And because it always has been simple, it's just not advertised as such, because there's no money in the simplification of this. The more complicated, the more complex it looks, the more complicated it looks from people you view have expertise in bodies that look almost unobtainable. The more money you can pour into it, the more simple it looks, the less money it's going to pour into this thing. But like that's the nature of the game, and that's not hidden. Everyone kind of knows that if you can kind of peel back the curtain and look through everything. But when it gets to that point and you realize the simplification of this and how important it is to keep this thing simple, especially as you get older, and even more importantly is if you are a parent and you realize, like, if you take better care of yourself, and if you don't, the resources that you now have to allocate to taking care of yourself, whether that be doctors, surgeons, health insurance, rehabilitation, all of those things start to pile up on you, and then now those resources are now being more allocated towards those things and not to your children, your grandchildren, which hopefully you're able to do. And you realize if you can keep this thing simple, which it is, and you can kind of, this may sound good or bad, but like take your ego out of like what it looks like or what it physically looks like, but you can keep your internal workings going, and understanding that is often simple in itself. Like eating is going to be boring. Working out potentially will be boring as it's compared to like how we advertise this. Like your workout, your best workout isn't going to be anything that anyone's going to want to view on Instagram. And that's a great situation. Thank goodness it doesn't have to be at the level that, influencers have to market that to get attention. You don't have to do it at that level. Thank goodness. If you did, oh my goodness, I don't think any of us would survive. So you see the benefit of keeping this thing simple. And especially when you attach it to things that are bigger than the external representation of that, you realize if you can get it to that level, and it prolongs your life, it prolongs your vitality, so you stay more available for the important things in this world, yourself, your parents, if they are still around, kids, if you have them, if you luckily have grandchildren too, if you stay available, like how much more important that is than just what you physically look like. And the motivation and discipline to stay on top of that becomes a lot better. I can tell you, like, the motivation to stay on track with this has become immensely easier since being a parent. Your priority to stay available, and to stay available so that you can guide your children and potentially, hopefully, guide your grandchildren, and knowing that how you eat, how you sleep, manage your stress, and how you physically move is at your fingertips, and is the foundation of you being able to stay available on this earth for those very important things. And that be able to do those things are simplistic in nature. And do our best, if I do my best, to let people know that it's not any more complicated, because you want people to stay around. You want to stay available for those important things. You want to stay available for yourself and not have to put all this in the hands of someone else, to where, one, you allocate your resources mentally and emotionally and physically to someone else, and financially you don't lose your ass, and if you have to go that route. So it's the significance of this, of keeping this thing simple, and understanding that this is directly what we do here. It's really close to like people's mortality and vitality, and the sensitivity and the thread of like the choices that you make are not that big. It's a grocery aisle over. It's a meal over. It's a floor. It's the difference between standing up and walking around and getting to the floor and doing something for your physical health. You're not too far away from being in the best shape of your life and being, or potentially being, in the worst shape of your life.